Lewis Riddick destroys Browns management. They're scared of Shedeur Sanders. The best QB in camp isn't getting the reps. And Lewis Riddick says it's not about football, it's about fear.
My dog Lewis Riddick is still raising havoc when it comes to the Cleveland Browns and their whole situation with Shedeur Sanders. Take a look at this clip.
Those guys next year is bound to be a franchise quarterback. So hey, it is what it is. And you know what's interesting? Look, the Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders thing. I was just talking about this just the other day on radio. The front office, having been in this situation for 11 years, you really think that the front office is sitting there going, look, we drafted Dylan in the 3rd, we drafted Shedeur in the 5th. Do you really think they want to see the 5th round kind of like beat out the 1st round guy? I mean, the 3rd round guy? No, hell no, they don't want that to happen because it makes them look bad.
Right.
It's like, well, why didn't you pick them the opposite way? So there's so many biases that they're going to have to work through, and then you don't have a whole lot of reps to go around. This is a much tougher situation than it looks like.
But if Shedeur outplays Dylan Gabriel,
Lewis Riddick just dropped a nuclear bomb on Cleveland's front office, and what he revealed about their fear of Shedeur Sanders will absolutely blow your mind. While Shedeur is out there throwing dimes and going 8-4-11 with 3 touchdowns, there's a dirty secret brewing behind closed doors that could destroy his chances before they even begin. The Browns drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round and Shedeur in the 5th, but here's the twisted part that Riddick exposed. They're literally terrified that the 5th rounder might embarrass their 3rd round investment. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about ego, pride, and a front office that would rather protect their reputation than put the best player on the field. Look, I'm going to be real with you right now. What's happening in Cleveland is absolutely insane. And after day 4 of training camp, there's no denying what we're all witnessing. Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing good football, he's making everyone else look like they belong in high school. But here's where it gets twisted, and this is what Lewis Riddick exposed that has the entire NFL world talking. You see, while everyone's watching Shedeur carve up defenses with surgical precision, there's a psychological warfare happening in that front office that's more dirty than anything you've seen on the field. These executives, who've been failing Cleveland for over a decade, are sitting in their fancy offices sweating bullets because their draft strategy is about to be exposed. As a complete joke, let me paint you the picture of what actually went down on day 4. Shedeur Sanders stepped onto that field with the 2nd team, and what he did was nothing short of masterful. 8 completions out of 11 attempts. That's a 73% completion rate with 3 touchdowns, all in red zone situations. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco, the supposed veteran leader, goes 4 for 8 with 0 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett managed 6-4-10 with 2 scores, which isn't terrible, but Dylan Gabriel, the golden boy they drafted in the 3rd round, he went 8-4-15 with just 1 touchdown while working with the first-team offense. Think about that for a second. Gabriel gets the premium reps, the first-team offensive line, the top receivers, and he's completing barely over 50% of his passes. Shedeur gets the scraps, the 2nd string everything, and he's out there looking like Tom Brady in his prime. The ball placement on these touchdown passes isn't just good. It's NFL-ready precision that makes you wonder how the hell this kid fell to the 5th round. But here's where Lewis Riddick comes in and absolutely destroys everything the Browns front office is trying to hide. Riddick didn't just analyze the situation. He exposed the psychological manipulation that's happening behind closed doors. When he talked about the Dylan Gabriel versus Shedeur Sanders competition, he revealed something that should terrify every Browns fan.
The front office, having been in this situation for 11 years, you really think that the front office is sitting there going, look, we drafted Dylan in the 3rd, we drafted Shedeur in the 5th. Do you really think they want to see the 5th round kind of like beat out the 1st round guy? I mean, the 3rd round guy? No, hell no, they don't want that to happen because it makes them look bad.
Right.
It's like, well, why didn't you pick them the opposite way? So there's so many biases that they're going to have to work through, and then you don't have a whole lot of reps to go around. This is a much tougher situation than it looks like.
but if Shedeur outplays Dylan Gabriel, then that's the way it is. Like, then the 5 beats out the 3.
True, if he gets enough reps in time to beat out the 3rd round.
It's not like either one is a 1. It's a 5 and a 3 with 2 ones on deck.
That sounds great as we're sitting here.
You really think that the front office is sitting there going, look, We drafted Dylan in the 3rd. We drafted Shedeur in the 5th. Do you really think they want to see the 5th-round guy beat out the 3rd-round guy? Riddick asked, and then he answered his own question with brutal honesty. Hell no. They don't want that to happen because it makes them look bad. This is where it gets absolutely disgusting. Riddick exposed that these executives would rather lose games than admit they made a mistake in the draft. Think about how twisted that is. Cleveland Browns fans have been suffering for decades, watching their team cycle through quarterbacks like they're changing underwear. And now they finally have a legitimate talent in Shedeur Sanders. But the front office might sabotage him to protect their own egos. The bias Riddick talked about isn't just some minor preference. It's systemic corruption of the competitive process. These are the same people who've been making terrible decisions for 11 years, and now they're faced with the possibility that a 5th-round pick might be better than their 3rd-round investment. Instead of celebrating that they found gold in the later rounds, they're terrified because it exposes their inability to properly evaluate talent. But let's talk about what we're actually seeing on the field, because the eye test doesn't lie. When Shedeur drops back, there's a calmness, a presence that screams NFL starter. The first touchdown pass Rio showed us. The ball placement was so perfect it looked like it was guided by GPS. The receiver didn't have to adjust, didn't have to make a spectacular catch. The ball was right where it needed to be, when it needed to be there. And this isn't just one lucky throw. This is consistent excellence. When you're going 8-4-11 with 3 touchdowns against professional defenders, even if they're second string, that's not an accident. That's skill, preparation, and natural ability combining to create something special. But here's what's really eating at the Browns front office. They got Shedeur Sanders for practically nothing, while other teams were reaching for quarterbacks. In the 1st and 2nd rounds, Cleveland stumbled into the steal of the century in the 5th round. Under normal circumstances, this would be celebrated as genius front office work. But because they also spent a 3rd-round pick on Dillon Gabriel, they're now in a position where their bargain might make their investment look like a waste. Riddick also exposed another layer of this dysfunction when he talked about rep distribution. 4 guys, that's a problem, he said, highlighting how having 4 quarterbacks on the roster means nobody gets enough practice time to truly separate themselves. But this isn't just bad roster management, it's strategic manipulation. By keeping 4 quarterbacks, the front office can control the narrative. They can give more reps to Dillon Gabriel and then point to his higher volume of practice time as justification for starting him over Shedeur. It's the perfect setup for sabotage disguised as competition. What makes this even more infuriating is that Riddick pointed out the historical precedent for mid-round picks winning starting jobs as rookies. He mentioned Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott, both guys who lit it up in the summer and clearly outplayed the competition. Sound familiar? That's exactly what Shedeur is doing right now, but instead of being celebrated, he's being held back by politics. The most damning part of Riddick's analysis was when he said that for a mid-round pick to win a starting job, you have to leave no doubt, clearly outplay the competition. Well, guess what? That's exactly what Shedeur is doing. While Dillon Gabriel is struggling to complete 50% of his passes with the first team, Shedeur is out there throwing perfect spirals and finding the end zone at will. But here's the twist that makes this whole situation even more fascinating. Shedeur might actually benefit from this adversity. Think about it. He's getting less reps, working with inferior talent around him, and still outperforming everyone. When he finally does get his shot with the first-team offense, the difference is going to be staggering. Imagine Shedeur Sanders with that first-team offensive line giving him clean pockets. Picture him throwing to the top receivers instead of practice squad players. The numbers he's putting up with limited resources are already impressive. With premium support, he might look unstoppable. And that's what terrifies the Browns front office. They know that once Shedeur gets equal opportunities, the comparison won't even be close. Dillon Gabriel will be exposed as a reach, and everyone will wonder why they didn't take Shedeur higher in the draft. Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff are already taking notice. The fact that they're watching Shedeur's practice sessions, even when he's on a separate field, tells you everything you need to know. Coaches want to win games, and they recognize talent when they see it. The political pressure from the front office might influence some decisions, but ultimately, if Shedeur keeps playing at this level, it's going to be impossible to ignore. The Cleveland Browns are sitting on a gold mine, but their own insecurities and ego might prevent them from cashing in. They drafted a potential franchise quarterback in the 5th round, the kind of value that makes careers for general managers. But instead of celebrating, they're panicking. What happens next could define the Browns' future for the next decade. If they let politics override performance, if they start Dillon Gabriel simply because of where he was drafted, they'll be making the same mistakes that have plagued this franchise for years. But if they have the courage to admit that they found something special in Shedeur Sanders, regardless of his draft position, they might finally have their answer at quarterback. The preseason will be crucial, but based on what we've seen so far, Shedeur isn't just competing for a roster spot. He's positioning himself to be the starter. Every practice, every rep, every perfect throw is building a case that's becoming harder and harder to ignore. Lewis Riddick exposed the dirty truth about what's happening in Cleveland, but he also highlighted the opportunity. The Browns have a chance to do something they haven't done in decades, make the right decision at quarterback. The question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders can play at this level. He's already proving that every single day. The question is whether the Browns' front office will let their pride cost them their future. Will they choose politics over performance? Will they protect their draft grades over their Super Bowl dreams? One thing's for certain, Shedeur Sanders isn't backing down from this fight. He's taking every rep they give him and maximizing it. He's turning limited opportunities into highlight reel moments. And most importantly, he's making it impossible for anyone with eyes to deny his talent. What do you think is going to happen when the preseason games start and millions of fans get to see this for themselves? Will the Browns continue to play politics, or will they finally put the best quarterback on the field? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and make sure you hit that subscribe button because this story is just getting started, and you don't want to miss what happens next when Shedeur Sanders gets his real chance to show the world what we already know. He's the future of the Cleveland Browns, whether they want to admit it or not.